So many of you guys have been asking for a final update on the Dianne Craft Right Brain Reading Program for my son. How is he doing? Is my son actually reading? And what did we think of the program now that we have completed it? And I'm gonna share all of that today in this video. So let's get started. So as some of you guys may or may not know, my son has severe dyslexia, severe auditory processing, autism, and it makes reading a huge challenge. We have gone through many different reading programs. We've gone through tutors, lots and lots of different situations, circumstances, and curriculums, and really hit a wall in most of them because it didn't work the way his brain worked. And then we found the Dianne Craft Right Brain Reading Program, and I was very skeptical. You can actually go back and watch this whole playlist of videos and see me from like considering it and how unsure I was of it to like even starting it and still unsure, and then in the middle of it and still unsure, and now here I am at the end of the program, and I'm so thankful that we went this route. So I want to kind of explain that. I am not going to explain in this video what the Right Brain Reading Program is because I've done that before. So I will leave a link down below to a video that explains more what it is, how to set it up, that kind of thing. And maybe after this, I will share a video on separate tips and tricks if you are considering using this curriculum. Today, I just want to share more about kind of our experience so that you guys have some idea of what it's been like. As you guys know, several years ago, we got very desperate and needed something to do with him that worked different than every other thing that he had done. And the Right Brain Reading Program really seemed to work. Now, I will be completely honest with you guys and say that our life has been insane. So consistency has been something that I have struggled with over the past year. I do feel like if I had been more consistent, we would be even further ahead of where we are right now. But I do feel like it gave us a really good base. We did do the exercises that can go along with the program, and we did all of that consistently for our very first year. And our second year, we did it for the first semester, but the second semester, we did not continue with those exercises. I wish I kind of would have. So if you're doing it, make the time to do those exercises. They really do help. They take time and they can be a battle, but it is a battle worth fighting, I think. But we went throughout the reading program and he finished almost all of the book. So we decided that he is going into high school this year, and we decided that wherever we were at the beginning of high school, we were not going to continue to do formal reading instruction after that. We were going to build on the skills we had already developed, but we were not going to continue having this be a separate subject. So we might go back, we might review some things if there's things that are particularly hard. If you're not familiar with the way the book is laid out, there's reading lists based on different sounds. So like for instance, this one is the EA sound. It says E like eat. And then all of the words on here have that sound. So if I notice that there's one particular sound he's really struggling with, we might go back and review a little bit in high school and hit on some of those, ending sounds. Some of them have pictures, some of them don't. But we got through 90% of this book before high school, and it was really good. The constant repetition, it seems excessive, but it is so needed for our kids that have this extra level of struggle. The visuals that came with it made it where things finally clicked for the first time, and I learned as a homeschool mom how to keep my mouth shut during reading instruction. It's not something that's actually pretty easy to do. Actually, it's a very big challenge, but one of the big things with this program is for you not to be like, no, that's not it, or to start to give them a hint or give them an answer. There's very specific instructions on how you're supposed to teach this program, and I would recommend following those specific instructions when teaching this to your kids. All of that to say, even though through all of our inconsistencies this year for various reasons, if you kind of want to know what's been going on this year, I'll leave a link down in the description below with a video that explains all the drama that happened this year, but it was really something that was a huge blessing. My son's reading started to grow significantly. His confidence started to grow significantly. At the same time we were teaching the skills, we also were introducing a lot of supports and tools to help him that were really great. Things like voice to text writing, learning to use things like Speechify, which is an app where he can take pictures of any text and then it will read it out loud to him. So we wanted to both equip him with learning to read as well as the tools to help when reading is hard, because we know it is going to continue to be hard for the future. But I want to share about some of the successes that we have seen after doing this program and after going through this whole long process. at 15 years old. And I have asked him, he is okay with me sharing this information. I try to always be respectful because I want to help you guys and encourage other homeschool moms, but I never want to do that at the cost of him and his preferences with this. But at the age of 15, he is actually doing really well. And I want to say that as an encouragement to you mamas who have 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds who are not reading well and who are struggling, that it will get better. It takes hard work and consistency, but it will get better. He is now helping to read for family devotions every single night. My husband has a series of passages that he passes out to the older kids, and my son reads every single night out of the Bible. Are there words he gets stuck on? Yes. Is there sometimes some need for some additional support? Yes, but he is reading out loud and doing that. I will say reading out of the Bible specifically has been one of the really helpful things that we've done alongside this curriculum and having him read out loud every day, because one of the challenges, if you have a struggling reader, that you're going to understand is that there can be a frustration because the material that is at their reading level does not match their comprehension or cognitive level. And it's a very frustrating experience to be a teenager and to being asked to be read very babyish books. But you know what? You can never argue with the fact that the Bible is good literature, right? Like that it is a quality thing. It's something that is valued in our home and is obviously worthy of being read. Now, are the words at his reading level? Not always. Actually, oftentimes they're not, but it is something for him that feels like it's worth fighting through the struggle to be able to read. I hope that makes sense. But it was something that was very, very helpful, having him do that every single day and practicing reading, and that's built his confidence as well when it comes to reading aloud. Another huge thing that has happened since my last update is my son got his driver's permit. But this is a really big deal, guys, because for those of you who have struggling readers, for those of you who understand the stress and the fear and the failure, even as you as a mom might be feeling because of your child's struggle in reading, you can know it's really hard to send your child off to take a written test where they have to read, comprehend, and then be able to give the correct answer ahead of time, right? And they have to do it all without you or without extra supports there. That's a nerve-wracking experience. And I wasn't sure, but he was confident he was ready. We were very confident that he was ready for the process of getting his permit and being actually able to operate a vehicle, but the actual written test was very scary. We had him go to a driving school for the day and did a one-day course. And the reason I opted for that specifically was because it offered the option of having supports if he needed it. He has a dyslexia diagnosis, so we could show them that and they would be able to help read aloud the test if he wanted, but he would have to ask for that if he needed it. We talked about it ahead of time. He understood the process and he has no problem asking for help. But guys, I'm happy to say that my son not only passed his test, but did so with 0 accommodations. Now, I wouldn't be any less proud if he had taken those accommodations. That's what they're there for. But that's huge. My son took a very long test that he was able to read and understand and find the appropriate answers in and to successfully do that. And that made me feel like, hey, I think things are going to be okay. Like, he's going to be fine. He's going to be able to do this. He wants to go into a career. Sorry, I'm going to start crying. I do this in every single one of these videos. Sorry, guys. He wants to go into being a mechanic. He wants to go into, he's looking into either like a regular mechanic or maybe a diesel mechanic. So he's looking at some kind of trade school option. He has become very motivated by his future and has actually talked to a few companies. I highly recommend that if your child is maybe reluctant in school or struggling in school. I recommend them talking to companies or people who work in certain industries that they're considering and ask them, what is the level of education needed? What do I need for this? He learned through this that there's an amazing program here in Kansas where he, once he graduates high school, could go into this sort of trade school / job position that would both pay him and give him employment while at the same time paying for him to go through a trade school. So he would work so many days and then he would go to trade school the opposite days. And it's already all built in to work together. So there's no need to like do that balancing act on your own. And he got very excited about this option. And he was like, I think this is something I really want to do. And do you know what that did? Whether or not he ends up going that route or going through that program, it gave him some motivation for school and for trying harder. And I think that's something, especially when we're talking about teenagers, that can be very hard. When you're still struggling with reading, when people have been doing it for a long time, when your peers have been doing it for a long time, well, and you're still struggling at this point, it can be very hard to keep that motivation going. And it can be very easy to just be like, well, I'm just not good at this and I'm not good at school and it doesn't matter and who cares and whatever. And so I encourage you to come alongside your kid, encourage them in what they are doing well, to help them to see how far they've come, and then to help them see that yes, there are options. There are jobs out there require less reading or less spelling or whatever the subject is that your child struggles with, but there is still a desire to continue to improve. So you may or may not, he may never get to the level of an 8th, 9th, 10th grade reading level. I would be very surprised. It could happen, but we're probably not going to get there. But he can succeed very well by just continuing to get a little better each day. He is now reading on his own for fun. He has assigned reading in school, which he uses the Speechify app for sometimes, but sometimes he does the reading himself and just uses the Speechify app when he gets stuck on a word. So I'm really impressed, not just in where he has grown skills-wise, but more so how he's taking ownership over his reading and really growing in this. I'm really thankful I used the Dianne Craft Right Brain Reading Program. If you are thinking about using it for your child and your child has significant struggles, I do highly recommend it. If you are thinking, hey, my child has dyslexia and maybe this can be helpful, it might. But I do think this is a different kind of program. I think that this program is for those kids where everything else has failed. They said in the beginning of the book that many of the kids who come into this program have already been unable to continue in like 5 or 7 different reading programs. So they've tried a lot of things, and it's just that their brains work really different and they need this. So it's not necessarily something that I just automatically recommend if you have kids with dyslexia. Usually if you have kids with just regular dyslexia and there's not other things going on, I do recommend actually usually using the All About Reading program because it's laid out much easier than this program. It takes much less time, and for most kids it's going to lay a better foundation. So that's kind of where my hesitation is when you guys always ask me in the comments, well, but what about, which one should I choose? I can't make that decision for you, but with that information in mind, I do recommend trying a more traditional program before going this route. But for those of you who are with me, who have tried all the things and are completely at your wits' end, nothing seems to stick, I definitely recommend giving this a try. You won't be sorry, but it will take a significant cost investment. And I definitely saw a difference between the first year where I was very consistent and put in a lot of time, and then this year where I wasn't able to do as much. It still works, but it works better when you put the time in. If you want to learn more about what has been going on in our life and why this year was so hard, be sure to check out this video here. And if you want to hear more about our journey through this process and with this curriculum and more about it, you can check out this playlist here.